Fat kitty. Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and I crashed my drone into a tree. I was gonna do a video on how to fly a drone smoothly. Update real quick, so I went apartment shopping today with a buddy of mine. My roommate from college, instead of getting another dorm room, we are going to get an apartment. So I think we actually might have found one. So hopefully definitely not next time. Hopefully though, within the next month or so, you guys will see me in a new setting in my own apartment. But that's to come later. Anyways, change of pace. I'm going to do that other video I was talking about. What you need for video editing. Kind of a techie video. If you don't really know this kind of stuff, it's okay. You guys can skip out on this video if you want to. That's fine. Once again, I apologize for these talking head videos. I want to do more. It's just a matter of getting out of the house, which I haven't done, period. Except today, I went apartment shopping, and I was going to bring my camera, and I kind of forgot. To because I was in a hurry. It's my fault. Anyways, so let's get started with this. So let me preface this by saying you don't need a powerful computer to do video editing on. Almost any computer work, but I wouldn't say almost. There's older computers definitely you're going to struggle. But so start off with my specs. I'm running on an Intel Core. Yes, if you know anything about computers, you know AMD's kind of caught up big time. And yeah, whatever. I got Intel. I have an Intel Core i9 9900K. And then for my graphics card, I'm running a RTX 2080, and then I got 16 gigs of RAM, which I really need to upgrade because I've been maxing that out recently with Photoshop and Premiere and all that. So yeah, so for video editing software, I use Premiere. Now, if you're a Mac user, you probably use iMovie or Final Cut, one of those two. And then there's other softwares out there, but this is what I use, is Premiere. I have a 240 gigabyte SSD as my boot drive. I've had that for a while. I haven't seen a reason to upgrade it. It's fast enough to boot off of, and then I got about 4 terabytes worth of hard drive space to keep all my other files on. Not to mention, I also have a file server which I keep all my videos and photos on. So your CPU, your graphics card, what you're editing off of, so hard drive, SSD, and then your RAM. Those are the 4 big components to video editing, I think. I mean, also the software you use as well. So for most editing computers today, I would definitely recommend at least, so on Intel side, an i5, and then for Ryzen, AMD, like a Ryzen 5 or up. So that will get you, and a modern i5, not one of the older ones with just 4 cores. Probably you want 6 cores or more nowadays. 6 cores, hopefully 12 threads. At least. Now, you can do an older i7 with 4 cores and 8 threads. That'll work too. Be a bit slower. I've created 3 different lists on PCParkPicker.com. And so let's get into those real quick. So they consist of a entry-level editing PC. So honestly, it could have gone a lot cheaper. If this were a gaming PC, which is not, it could have gone a lot cheaper. Probably could have gotten down to even the 400 level range, brand new. But since we're doing video editing, we need a relatively decent CPU at the very least. So this entry-level PC is about $600. The next level up, which I created, which is about $1,100, it's going to get you pretty good. That's probably about what most people would need, depending on what you're editing. And then I have a no compromise PC, which was about $2,000, a little over $2,000 or something like that. So let's get into this. So first computer. This is the entry-level computer. So for the CPU, we start off with an Intel Core i5. So this is the only Intel-based system that I have on this list. So we got the Intel Core i5 9400F. So the F basically just means there's no integrated graphics in this one, but that's okay because we added a graphics card since we're doing video editing. Anyways, we added it. We added the graphics card. So the graphics card we added was a GTX 1650 4GB. So this will get you by. There's nothing wrong with it. And like I was going as cheap as possible on everything but the CPU. And because of that, I had to get a little bit more of an expensive motherboard. The motherboard's really not even that expensive in terms of motherboards, but so what I've done here is we got 16 gigs of RAM. So we could have gone cheaper if this weren't an editing computer, but since it's an editing computer, we need as much RAM as we can get for as cheap as we can get it. So we got 16 gigs of RAM running at 3000 megahertz. We just got a basic air cooler, it's $30. Let's see. So for storage, this is kind of interesting. So some of you guys might not agree with this. I don't know, this is my logic. Go with the cheap, not cheap, but like a low boot drive, so 204 gigabytes. Like, that's honestly, I think, in my opinion, all you need for a boot drive, as long as you just keep your things on the hard drive, which I've also added to this list. So we got a 1 terabyte 72 RPM hard drive by Seagate, which will be there to keep all your bigger files, aka videos and photos. I think this is actually a pretty good compromise. So your computer still starts out fast, all your programs start fast, but then all your big files are still stored in a place where you can afford to, if that makes sense. And then your power supply, I went cheap again. Good brand though, good brand, so I wouldn't worry about the power supply failing. It's the EVGA power supply, 500 watt. So I always like to get a little bit more than you need with the wattage. Personally, just because if you ever do upgrades, you have the room to. And the case is a brand I've never heard of. I just wanted to get something that would work. That's all I was going for, nothing special. Okay, so next, we got the $1,100 editing computer. So, for this one we went with a Ryzen, for this computer we went with a Ryzen 7. Went with that because it's got 8 cores and 16 threads. So there's plenty of power there to, by the way, the other computer, the cheaper one, the Intel based one, the i5 there was a 6 core. So this one is 8 core, 16 threads, which is pretty good amount of power to edit on. So my i9, for example, that's how many cores and threads I got, and I have no problem editing videos on it or anything really at all. Then I went with the same cooler as the cheaper one because I feel like you shouldn't have any problems with that cooler as long as you're not trying to overclock it extreme or anything like that. The motherboard went more expensive this time, so this motherboard you can actually overclock and stuff on. This motherboard you can actually overclock and do things on. It's a bit better quality. The RAM, I went with the Corsair Vengeance LPX RAM, 16 gigs once again, 3200 megahertz. I probably could have gone with faster RAM, but something you can do. But you can overclock the RAM to get a little bit more speed out of it if you need to. But I don't think it's going to affect your workflow too much. Graphics card went with an RTX 2060, and the reason being is because that's kind of a nice middle-of-the-road graphics card. There shouldn't be anything wrong with that. You got 6 gigs of VRAM there. It's the entry level to NVIDIA's ray tracing line, and it's still plenty fast. To put this in perspective, I looked it up, and the RTX 2060 is faster than the GTX 980 Ti from 2 generations ago, which was the top-end one then. So, and then we have for the case an NZXT case. I like their brand. It's nothing special, so I wasn't trying to get anything too expensive there, but it's a nice case in my opinion. Then the power supply, we went with a Seasonic 650 watt power supply, and the cables are all black. It's not modular, but I was trying to keep the price low once again. I was trying to keep it low but still powerful, the computer, so saving on what we could. So next is the no compromise 4K editing computer. This one we went with the Ryzen 9 3900X. Now there is one above it, but CPU above it, and I just think it's a little unnecessary right now. I think you'd still be able to do whatever you want with this Ryzen 9 3900X. Then we got a water cooler this time to keep that CPU cool, because you can definitely overclock that on the motherboard we chose. By the way, I have a thing where I just like Asus motherboards. They've always worked for me. Just that's a personal thing. But yeah, so we went with an Asus ROG Strix X570F gaming motherboard. You'll notice a lot of these things might say gaming on them. It's just because it happens to be what just is faster in most computer parts these days, because it's a lot of people focus on. Now, all these builds actually you could game on pretty well. Just throwing that out there in case anyone was curious about that. The RAM, we went with a G-Skill Trident Z, 32 gigabytes this time, 3600 megahertz. For the storage situation, we went with a 1 terabyte M.2 Samsung SSD with a 5 terabyte spinning drive to keep all your files on, which I think that's pretty good. So you got 1 terabyte to edit off of, also 1 terabyte for your boot disk, and 1 terabyte for all your programs, then the 5 terabyte for all your big files. So, and then this time we went all out on the graphics cards in RTX 2080 Ti, which will definitely boost your video editing process, especially in Premiere Pro, because Premiere will use that hardware acceleration. Case, I kind of went the same as the 1100 editing computer because I didn't see a reason to upgrade the case. But that's personal preference. I mean, if you're spending the money on this and you have the money for this higher end one, you can get whatever case you want. It's just, I just threw in what happened to be there. I wasn't trying to go expensive, like I wasn't trying to go crazy, but I was trying to, when I say no compromise, I'm talking about in the hardware that's going to actually give you performance, not things that don't affect your performance, if that makes sense. Alright, so, and then power supply, I just went with an EVGA 650 watt power supply, all black cables. Now this one is semi-modular, if I remember correctly. Yeah, this one's semi-modular, so that's good. Yeah, so this one, honestly, the best bang for your buck is probably this one right here, if I had to guess, the $1,000 editing computer, because you still get that Ryzen 7 with 8 cores and 16 gigs of RAM, which I think will cover you pretty well. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below and I'll try my best to answer them. And if you didn't like what I did and you think you could have done better, tell me what you would have changed on this list. Suggestions are more than welcome. Anyways, guys, that's pretty much it for this video. Like I said, I was going to fly a drone until I crashed into a tree. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.